Okay, hello everybody. I think I can see that you have all come through. Welcome. Those of you that were joining me just minutes ago with Beverly Clark on the welcome back. This is the first of the sessions for CAS Virtual Showcase 2020. It's a webinar titled Esports, What You Should Know That Your Students Do Already. With me, John Thibodeau, and I'm your host, and Tom Dorr from the British Esports Association, who you should be able to see. I'll introduce him shortly, will be running this session. So I'm the CAS Outreach Manager from the Northwest, where I'm also a primary school teacher, and this webinar is part of the CAS Virtual Showcase 2020. So there are an incredible range of really valuable CPD opportunities happening over the next 2 weeks, designed to support you, our CAS community. So during this session, a little bit of housekeeping, we're going to do questions via the question box on the GoToWebinar control panel. I'm going to be monitoring that, and I will put a couple of questions to Tom as we go through, and we'll also have a chance at the end to talk to any further questions as well. Tom's kindly put a copy of his presentation and some more general information about the Esports Association in handouts, which can be downloaded from the handout part of the GoToWebinar control panel, which is, I don't know if it's that way for you or that way, so I'll point both directions. And if you are posting, and we do encourage you to share your thoughts and reflections on these sessions, the hashtag is hashtag CAS Virtual 20. So I think that's all from me. So let me introduce Tom. Tom Dorr is the Head of Education at the British Esports Association, the UK's not-for-profit national body for esports. He leads their work with young people and associated stakeholders. He has been responsible for the development of the groundbreaking new range of BTECs in esports in partnership with Pearson. And Tom and I were just talking about that, and they've been schools are lapping it up, which is great. The first qualifications of their kind in the world. He's also still a secondary teacher and has taught for the last 15 years across the full range of state and independent schools, from alternative provision schools and sponsored academies through some academy selective, academically selective independent day schools. So there we go, introduction, Tom, and I'm very excited to hand over to him now and find out what my pupils know about esports that I don't. So over to you, Tom.
Thanks, Chip. Thanks. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity to speak right at the start of the CAS program. I know it's the showcase has got a fantastic range of events going on. Just a little aside, it'd be quite interesting across the course of the week for people tuning in to see who has the biggest lockdown hair styles through the week. I know I saw my aging parents for the first time a few weeks ago, like many of us will, and then the first thing my dad said to me was, "God, you're looking great." I was like, "Thanks, Dad. Thanks very much. I'll see you again in a few months." Yeah, so my hair certainly hasn't been this long for the last 25 years since doing my A-levels, but there we are. Right, crack on then. Right, esports, what you should know already, or what you should know that your students do already. So I'm going to run you through the world, introduce you to this world of esports, and give you a little bit of background to who we are, who British Esports are, what we do in schools and colleges, how you can use this to engage your students, because really for me it's all about engagement. Everything I've always done in schools as a teacher for the last 15 years has been about engagement of young people. Esports gives you an opportunity to do that. So the British Esports Association, as Chip said in the introduction, we're the UK's national body for esports. We're not for profit. We're established in 2016 with government permission to really support and raise awareness of what esports actually is, to provide advice and guidance. We very much focus on grassroots, so amateur esports, and on working with young people. And our role really is to educate everyone, all stakeholders involved around esports, what it is and what the benefits are. We hope in this process that we inspire young people, that we give young people an opportunity to follow their passion. And as I'll talk about in a minute, there is professional esports now. And that has come to the fore. Public awareness of what esports actually is has grown massively, obviously, through the lockdown period. So our founder and CEO, Chester King, he sits on the International Olympic Committee Esports and Gaming Liaison Group. He's also a member of the Global Esports Federation, the board member of the Global Esports Federation has recently been established based out of Singapore, that's attempting to be like the FIFA for football, the FIFA equivalent in esports. He also chairs their Education and Wellness Commission. My name's Tom Dorr, I'm the head of education. As it says on the tin, I deal with everything to do with young people and different educational projects that I'll talk about. I've also been teaching for the last 15 years, as Chip said, across a full range of different types of school, from pupil referral units and sponsored academies. So that's where I've actually spent the majority of my career. Half my career was spent at the John Medeski Academy in Reading, one of the original sponsored academies. I was the director of maths and science there, and raised my way up through to being assistant principal in charge of assessment and progress. I was the Pixel Raising Standards leader for 4 years as well. And then I got fed up of Ofsted and bouncing in and out of special measures. So I swapped sides nearly 4 years ago, and now I teach in the independent sector, and I'm just a normal teacher again, and have this time to spend doing esports as well. So I still teach 3 days a week, and I do this for 2 days a week. So what is esports? Here's the definition for you. Esports is organized competitive video gaming. Okay, organized competitive video gaming, and it's always human versus human. So it's not in your bedroom on your own playing against a computer. It's always human versus human. Now, it's played at both an amateur level and a professional level, and it's open to all, regardless of gender, physical ability, all those sorts of things. It's age neutral, it's gender neutral. It's played on PCs, it's played on consoles, it's played on mobiles. In this country, mobile gaming's not very big yet. In Southeast Asia, massive. Mobile gaming is huge. The formats of the games, games like FIFA, which is 1 versus 1, right the way through to 6 versus 6. So it's always human versus human. And because of that, they're the social benefits that go with it. There are around 40 different esports titles that are recognized, or 40 different video games that are recognized as esports, because they allow this human versus human interaction, essentially. Now, like with any activity, there are acronyms to go with it. So MOBAs, the multi-online battle arena games, the FPSs, the first-person shooters, the fighting games like Street Fighter. I haven't actually got on there the Clash Royale games like Fortnite and PUBG. And what we're finding, and one of our roles is to help educate, as I mentioned, different stakeholders. And one of the things we're finding is that lots of parents will understand different different genres of film, different genres of TV, different genres of music, and therefore what is age appropriate and what is age appropriate for their young people, for their children. Not enough parents understand this yet about video games. So the classic Daily Mail headline, my 9-year-old son's addicted to Fortnite. Well, they shouldn't be playing Fortnite in the first place because it's a 12 rated game. So there's a lot of awareness raising and things like that we're doing as well. The esports industry is growing exponentially around the world, and the figures that you can see on the screen in front of you were pre-lockdown as well. So I'm not going to read all these through. You can have a look at these yourself, but it's just worth mentioning the video game industry itself is worth more than the music industry and the film industry added together year on year. Okay, esports is a small part of the wider video games industry. So it's $1 billion, $1.5 billion are the figures that we get told, the industry get told, out of 150 billion for the wider video game industry. In the UK, it was the second largest growing, fastest growing entertainment sector last year. And that is before the lockdown situation, where public awareness of what esports is has risen, because obviously traditional sport hasn't been able to take place. You know, BT Sports, Sky Sports, BBC Sport even have broadcast esports over the last, through the lockdown period. Now, it's important to say in the UK, we're classified as a game and not a sport. And that is something we're very, very happy about. We do not want to be classified as a sport. In other countries where mind games like chess and bridge are classified as sports, it's slightly different. But we never want to get to the situation where children can turn around to their parents and say, or turn around to school and say, actually, I don't need to go out and kick a football round. I don't need to go outside and do my game session because I've played Overwatch or Fortnite for 2 hours today. We never want to get to that situation. The stats at the bottom are interesting, to do with the numbers of young people that are playing, who are involved with this, because this is where I'm really coming from, and part of my role is to speak to as many teachers and educationists, senior leaders as I can, to try and open people's eyes to just how much young people are doing this. So if we harness video gaming and esports in a positive, productive, balanced way, think of what we can do with it. This bit, 81% of 12 to 15-year-olds playing for 12 hours a week. 49% of girls playing, again, on a weekly basis, up 11% from last year. These figures will have only gone up through the lockdown period. So on a professional level, esports is played in arenas, in front of live audiences in their tens of thousands. You can just see at the bottom here, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but at the bottom, those are the stages and the big screens above them. So the teams will sit on stage. Here's another picture of an arena under preparation. So, for example, some of the figures that stick in my head, the League of Legends Grand Final, World Finals in 2017 were held in the Bird's Nest Stadium in Beijing. 45,000 seats to the live event, sold out in under 2 minutes, and 60 million people watched online. It's huge, huge engagement figures, but it's a world that people don't necessarily know exists. It's being driven by 16 to 35-year-olds on the whole. And at these live events, you get, and streamed through channels such as Twitch, a streaming service, you'll get what we call in the industry shoutcasters, essentially commentators, like you get on football, like you get on rugby, but they're commentating on these live events to bring colour, to bring it alive, essentially. Now, if you don't take anything else away from this presentation, this is the slide and the content that is contained within it that I would like you to take away. And this is really why I got into esports and why I'm involved in this. Not because I'm a massive gamer. Yes, I played a lot of Super Nintendo and Sega Mega Drive when I was a student, but this is the reason I really got into it. Esports provides an opportunity to engage a wider demographic of young people. When I was teaching at JMA, it was, bottom 5% of any socioeconomic factor you wanted to pick. I was shot with an air rifle at school. Really, really tough environment. But we were sponsored by the guy who owns Reading Football Club. So for a lot of our kids, football was the hook. But what about those young people who aren't into football, who aren't into traditional team-based activities, who aren't into drama, who aren't into music? Where are they getting these team-based activities from? Where are they having their success celebrated, like you would if you played in the football team? Well done, the school football team's beating our local rivals. Let's get them on stage in assembly and give them a clap. Well done to the orchestra. They played at local old people's home at Christmas. Well done, let's give them a clap. What if you're not into that? What if you're into all things digital? What if you're into all things tech? Where are you getting your opportunity to share that passion and be celebrated for that? Esports provides that opportunity to these young people to have their success celebrated, to allow them to follow their passion. So when it's done in moderation, when it's done as part of a balance, and that's what we're promoting. We're not condoning hours and hours at home in the bedroom on your own. This is done as a team, being facilitated by adult members of staff at school. And through this, you're developing all sorts of the character development skills, the teamwork, the leadership, the communication, the decision-making, the problem-solving, the cyber skills that you get through doing this. And therefore, the explicit links to computer science, to STEM education, the development of digital skills, the development of digital literacy. Hugely important way of doing this, of engaging young people in a different way. So, in terms of career pathways that now exist, what we want to highlight is not only is the links through to the professional esports, the esports industry, the jobs that are being created about this, around this growth of this exponential industry, not just in the UK, but globally around the world. And so there are all sorts of roles there. But then it's the wider roles. It's the links to the digital, the STEM-based skills, STEM industries. We've had the National Centre for Cybersecurity spoke to my CEO 6 months ago, wanting to understand how they can engage with universities, how they can engage with graduate gamers, essentially. We've helped the RAF set up their esports association, and the Army have got their own esports pathways as well. They're very interested in drone flyers, as you can imagine. And so we've got all the different transferable skills and how these skills are mapped to both industries, and then obviously how they can generate the links to the different subjects in schools as well. So as Chip mentioned, we have partnered with Pearson to create the first esports qualifications of their kind in the world. They really are. This week I've spoken to the US, I've spoken to Mexico, I've spoken to India, and I've spoken to the Middle East, to Dubai, to the GEMS Education Network about these qualifications. They really are the first of their kind in the world, and I've led a team of teachers and other lecturers to develop these qualifications on the behalf of Pearson. They have been funded. The level 3 has been fully funded. The level 2 is going through the process at the moment. It does not count in the performance tables, I'm afraid. It attracts UCAS points, but it's not counting in the performance tables. So lots of FE colleges are running this regardless. Sixth form colleges, a lot of them that we've spoken to are putting this as an add-on, as an extracurricular activity, because it still counts for UCAS points. We're also developing entry-level, level 1 equivalents and international equivalents as well. There's no exam content in it, and it's all internal assessment. Here's a list of all the different units that make up the level 3. The level 2, there are 7 different pathways that we have, or 7 different units that we're working on here. And I'm conscious that I'm going to zoom through this, but there's links in the presentation. Essentially, there are the esports specific units that we've written, you know, shoutcasting, the streaming, the strategies, the game strategies. But then there's the business units, there's the entrepreneurship units, there's the creative new media units about the streaming, about the video production, about use of social media, about designing a brand. There's the sports linked and performance linked units, about coaching, about sports performance, about nutrition, about psychology. There's stuff to do with, there's a computer networking unit, there's a games design unit in here. So it's all about the transferable skills as well as the esports, because we're conscious that young people are not all going to go into the esports industry, but we want to give them the skills that they can move on into the wider digital STEM tech-based industries along the way. So link about higher education. So Staffordshire University launched the first full esports degree in September last year. Chichester University and Salford University have done things this year. There are a number of other universities coming online for September as well with degree courses. We're supporting the development of a new university in London that is going to be specifically looking at various different types of esports course as well. Confetti Institute in Nottingham, part of Nottingham Trent University, they're launching a degree in September as well. They've got phenomenal facilities linked to esports production and wider media production. So this bit down here, the final bullet point about universities. So only football, there are football societies are only, I'm getting my wording mixed around here, but only football societies have more. There are only more football societies at universities than esports societies. And the Newell and the NSE are the organisations that run esports events in universities. In the US now, there are over 200 universities offering scholarships for esports in exactly the same way as they do for traditional sports. So it's a huge growth market. In the UK, if I'm honest, we're a long way, we're a year, 2 years behind where the US is, where Scandinavian countries are, and certainly where Southeast Asian countries are. Now, if you want to get involved, we run the British Esports Championships for schools and colleges, the only PC-based competition of its kind in the UK. This season, so this is our 2nd year of running it, this season we've had just under 300 teams from over 80 schools and colleges playing on a Wednesday after school, running or using 3 age-appropriate games. Our live grand finals last year took place at Insomnia, Insomnia 66 or Insomnia 64 as it was then, at the NEC in Birmingham. The top picture here is a picture of the teams there. We had live stage time there. So for some of these kids, it was their equivalent of walking out of Wembley or walking out of Twickenham, getting to play live on stage at Insomnia. It was fantastic. It was supposed to happen this year, but obviously it didn't happen because of the whole lockdown situation. So we streamed live on Twitch. Twitch is a phenomenal ecosystem in itself. If you haven't come across Twitch, twitch.tv, go and have a look at just how many people are on there, how many young people are on there watching other people play esports. tens of thousands of people. It is a crazy thing, and we stream live on there, and we had 2,000 people watching, 2,000 live viewers for the finals between Sunderland College and Glasgow Clyde College in Rocket League. It was an amazing event for these young people. So we're the official partner of the Association of Colleges. So like the FAR for football or the RFU are for rugby, we're their official esports partner. We've just launched again, or we're launching today, the registration for the championships for September. So if you're interested, I'll put a link on here at the moment. So that goes live today. In terms of other projects we've been involved with, we've done some groundbreaking work in alternative provision schools. There's a link there that you'll be able to see to a story that Reuters did just before lockdown. So we did it last year with 8 schools, and it was so successful. There's various case studies, and if you're interested, I can send you the link. It's also in the doc that I've put in that you can download. For example, in one AP school, there was a lad whose attendance was 60%. He was pretty much a selective mute and was violent towards members of staff. Turns out he was a massive gamer, and he ended up coaching the team. His attendance went up to 95% during the champs, during the 6 or 8 weeks the champs were on, and he ended up coaching 2 younger students who physically couldn't be in the same classrooms as each other because they were so violent towards each other. They ended up all playing on the same team, being coached by a lad who had been a selective mute and was violent towards members of staff. Phenomenal opportunities here. We were halfway through this season's version of that when the lockdown came along. However, Reuters managed to get into that school in Slough and put out a piece on their Global East global network that you can have a look at there. We were supposed to do a pilot in primary schools that was supposed to be happening now in partnership with Confetti and also in partnership with STEM Learning and NCCE based in and around Nottingham. They were going to come and deliver some coding aspects to a week of days. A primary school were going to come in for a day a week each. Along the way, we're going to do some esports work with them, and then STEM are going to deliver some coding work. Obviously, that hasn't happened. However, I'm conscious that there are lots of primary colleagues who are going to be watching this. If you're interested, we're very keen to get another primary pilot going. Kit is the issue for you, essentially, in schools, and that might preempt any questions we might get. In essence, to run Rocket League, well, League of Legends is free to download, it's free to play, and runs very easily. Rocket League, and I'm looking at my notes here to remind myself, you need something equivalent to an NVIDIA 260 graphics card and a 2.4 gigahertz dual core processor. That's the sort of minimum spec you're looking at. It's the discrete graphics cards. Schools have rooms full of PCs, and I naively thought they'd all run these games. They don't. You need the discrete graphics cards. That's the key. So if you're interested in if you're working in part of a multi-academy trust, for example, and you know you've got PCs across schools that have the capability of running this, please do get in touch. We're very interested in doing another primary pilot. And then we're also putting a bid in for 5G tech, along with Confetti, that will involve, we're aiming for 3 or 4 vans that we kit out with 5G tech and gaming laptops that we then will take into primary schools in different regions and different parts of the country and hook people up in real time to work on projects. I'm speaking to BCS, I'm speaking to the NCCE about delivering the coding side of this. We'll then deliver an esports angle to this to add to a competitive angle to add as, the hook to motivate and engage young people. We're also speaking to Minecraft because Minecraft are just releasing tomorrow an esports version of the Minecraft education edition. Immersive Minds, who are based here in the UK, who've written a lot of the Minecraft education stuff, have written an esports angle as well, and so we're going to be working with them hopefully around this project as well. So look, I'm conscious that we're getting towards the end of the talk. I'm conscious that there's going to be some questions and things like that along the way. There's some different websites you can visit. Here, if you're interested in entering a team or registering your interest for the championships, you can see a link here. Lots of advice and guidance from our website. We've got a YouTube channel where there's lots of information there, videos from students, from teachers talking about the championships, talking about their experiences of esports and the benefits of doing it, and why the benefits that they've seen of working with esports and working with their students on this. So I'm going to sort of hand back to Chip a little bit here. There's my email address there. There's our website. So if you've got any questions, if you've got any queries, please do reach out. Like I said, I'm still teaching 3 days a week, but I do have 2 days a week for this, and evenings and weekends, as a lot of you can imagine, on projects like this. So Chip, over to you. Any questions, any queries that have come through?
Thank you so much, Tom. I can hear the round of applause coming from different parts of the country after that. Thank you. That was absolutely fantastic. When I'm listening to you talk about this, I just find myself getting just so excited, sort of smiling with the idea, because I know if my pupils, and obviously I'm primary based, were hearing about this, they'd be going, yeah, yes, you get it. And your title of your talk about pupils already knowing this stuff, it's spot on. It's like recently I built myself a gaming PC for flying flight simulators, a bit geeky, I know, but it was my pupils who were telling me about the video cards. I know you want a 2080 or you want this, and because the context for them, the motivation is already there, and if we can tap into that, the learning just happens to it.
They're engaged. It allows them to engage with the tech. As a computer science teacher, as a media teacher, you know, this is your opportunity to engage kids outside the classroom with something that they're going to bring back into the classroom. Engage. Esports has been described to us as a Trojan horse. Through esports, you can bring in all sorts of other different things. Have you thought about this career pathway? What about this taking GCSE computer science? Right, that will help you get to this where it's a huge opportunity to engage young people.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we have got a few questions that come in. Before I go to the questions, I just need to say to everyone as well, I think for some reason there's been a bit of an issue in accessing your handouts, Tom. Don't know what's happened there, but I've seen in the chat what I'm going to do, because we've got a list of all the people that have joined us for this. We'll double check them, we'll get them sent out straight away, because people are just really keen to get access to the resources.
Likewise, look, if people want, my email's on the screen now. Email me and I can send stuff through to you completely. And I've got a team of now 3 or 4 people. After starting this from scratch 3 years ago, we've now got a team of 3 or 4 different people working as liaison officers to schools and colleges in different regions. So more than happy for you guys to reach out, and we'll put people in touch with you.
Brilliant. So can I ask you a few questions that have come through then? First of all, so Nick Hughes, a couple of questions from Nick. So let's sort of combine them here. So is there any advice on the website of how to start up activities in school? And then he followed it up with a question about, are there any perhaps case studies of primary and secondary schools? I guess the two of those the case studies could be used as advice on how to go about implementing.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go to the championships link there, what you'll see, there's loads of packs for teachers, sort of handbooks, how-to guides. We've got lists on there of the different ports and the different firewalls you need to unblock, what you can download, what you need to do in terms of the minimum specs. The handbook that I've given you as well, not just the deck that I've used now, but the summary, the briefing document on there at the end. There's loads of different links. There's 2 links there to recordings we've done with different teachers, one at Hills Road in Cambridge and one at Marling School in Stroud, from the teacher essentially saying their experiences of what they've done here. We're streaming at the moment on Twitch as well. There are various different streams we've done on Twitch with different groups of teachers as well, with both the benefits but then the pitfalls as well, the conversations that you're obviously going to have with SLT, and the types of questions that you might be asked there as well. So yeah, loads and loads of advice and guidance on the website for you.
Super. And that is and Nick says thanks so much, and that is a perfect, I think, segue is the word, into this question here from Ed. How do you best sell this to SLT? Cost of graphics cards will be expensive, so I mean, there is that advice there, but any top tips, Tom?
Yeah, look, I think the hard bit is getting beyond the fact it's video gaming. If you can get beyond the point of video gaming and get them to look at the skills that it helps to develop in the same way that traditional sports, traditional team-based activities do, if you get them onto that and maybe highlight groups of young people in your school who you know aren't engaged in traditional sports, aren't engaged with traditional extracurricular offering, essentially. Maybe if you have computer rooms open at lunchtimes that you allow young people to go and work in and things like that, it's those young people who I bet will be engaged at the forefront of doing this, for example. So if you can try and use specific examples there. If you look at costs, don't go to them and say, right, we need to kit out a new lab with brand new PCs for playing video games. What it could be is the links to the wider delivery of computer science, of media, of art, of design, and how having graphics cards in, another 80, 100 quid on a graphics card in 10 or 12 PCs will allow other subjects to use those PCs, but at the same time allow you to engage young people, engage a wider demographic of young people. There we go. Use that phrase. They'll love that one. But it's if a new computer suite is being upgraded, then for asking to have 10 PCs, 12 PCs that have discrete graphics cards in with them will cost you another extra, few hundred quid, a couple of £1,000. Link it to traditional sport. Link it to how much sport get to spend every year on new kit and setting up new clubs and things like that, and try and sort of use that angle a little bit as well. Maybe we've got some links. To be fair, we've got some links to people like Stone Group, Fierce PC, CDW, PC Specialist, that we can put you in touch with as well. They potentially will do additional deals for you maybe along the way.
The question from Jenny Sharp here was that is there anywhere people can go for financial support, or in terms of running this stuff?
I'd love to say yes, but no. If I'm perfectly honest, not at this stage. There are some colleges and schools who've been in this for the last couple of years, who've developed links with local businesses, local tech firms. For example, Queen Mary College in Basingstoke, they have got some funding from the local enterprise partnership to kit out there's an unused floor in one of their buildings that they're kitting out for an esports academy. Lenovo, the tech firm, happens to have their headquarters in Basingstoke, that they have then tapped into that essentially to gain support from Lenovo. Game and Belong, the high street store that you can go into to buy video games, their base also happens to be in Basingstoke, so they've tapped into them there. If you're in the Thames Valley, for example, I'd be looking at Microsoft. I'd be trying to tap into Microsoft. If you've got any of these big tech firms around you, then go and look there. That would be a starting point. Keep it local
partnerships. Yeah. Jenny's saying thank you. So just going to do a couple more, because I'm aware that this was scheduled through to past, but the conversation, all these questions are great, and everything you're sharing is really interesting. I want to go through as many of them as possible. So just coming to, we've got a nice one here from Jim. What's your favourite esport, Tom? And which is the most popular with the children?
Yeah, it's different. So League of Legends is one of the most played games in the world. However, it's very niche. If you think Dungeons and Dragons, it's that type of thing. Overwatch is the most popular in our champs at the moment. I like Overwatch. If I played more games than I do, that would be one I got into. If I'm perfectly honest, though, look, I'm in my early 40s now. My reaction time has dropped off massively, and when I watch the kids at school playing it, I'm just about processing what they're doing, and I've realised what they've done, and they're already on 3 or 4 moves ahead. So Overwatch is a good one. Fortnite, I understand why Fortnite is so popular. I really do. I get why it's so popular. I also like the sports-based ones as well, like FIFA, NBA, and Madden American football. I used to play a lot of that growing up as well.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. And I hear you on the reaction times front.
The processing speed is just crazy of these kids.
I mean, that's fascinating in itself. It brings in so much of science and biology, and just straight that. I mean, I watch my pupils playing various games, and I can't keep up with them like yourself.
It's the multitasking, and the social aspect of it, the community that exists around esports, it's huge. And even though it's all online and it's all virtual, it's massive. And we're working closely with organisations in the US, in Australia. I've just hooked up with some people in New Zealand as well. So there's an opportunity for us to introduce young people to each other around the world and hook people up as well. It's a huge, huge community.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you very much. I think we will leave it there for this morning, and I'm just going to say thank you again for sharing your enthusiasm and passion about esports and everything that we could potentially do through esports with our pupils in both primary and secondary schools. So just to finish, just to let everybody know, there's lots of people are writing clap, clap, by the way, in the round of applause coming through, and the and thanks coming through as well in the chat. So just to let everybody know, a short survey will appear as we finish this. Please do complete the survey if you can. It only takes us a couple of minutes, and it's really valuable evaluation feedback for ourselves. This has been recorded, and the video of this will be available at a point in the future, in the near future, on the CAS website. And just to finish by saying thank you again, Tom. I hope to see everyone that joined us for this in some of the other sessions over the next couple of weeks. And I hope you have a great day. And I'm going to finish things. So cheers, Tom.
Thank
Speak
you.
soon.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.